Hello, hello. It's 6:56. Show's going to be starting in about 5 to 10 minutes. Just waiting for people to join the room, if there's going to be anybody joining the room. Maybe you're watching this live right now. You have no plans on joining the room in terms of using your camera or your microphone, and that's perfectly fine. I'm really glad that you're watching. But for now, we'll just have to wait a little bit. We're in the pre-show section, 6:45 to 7 p.m., where we sort of get set up. We wait for people to come in. We test out microphones and computer connections, whatever it is. And then we start the show around 7, 7:05, and that goes until 7:30, if we're lucky. We've never been lucky. What you were just hearing is a demo, was a test of a intro song for the Appreciationist. So I appreciate you taking time to listen to that. That's where the pre-show comes in, right? You can test some things out. I want to hear what it sounds like in the recording, and that's where I put it. If you have any questions relating to personal development, personal empowerment, positive thinking, the law of attraction, anything at all relative to what we're doing, please feel free to use the question and answer app, or to post your questions on Facebook, or on the YouTube page, or the Google Plus page, or wherever you're seeing this. If you want to participate with us next time, just be here at 6:45. You can come in with your webcam or your microphone, or if you're doing it just like you're doing it today, just feel free to watch at home, maybe in your pajamas. I don't know, 7 p.m. on Wednesday. Probably too early for pajama weather. Okay, let me not start the show yet. 6:57. I'm just going to relax a second. I'm just reading some jokes here. Yes, you want to hear a joke? Pre-show, why not? Nobody else is here? A woman whose husband often came home drunk decided to cure him of the habit. One Halloween night, she put on a devil's suit and hid behind a tree to intercept him on the way home. When her husband came by, she jumped out and stood before him with her red horns, long tail, and pitchfork. "Who are you?" he asked. "I'm the devil," she responded. "Well, come on home with me," he said. "I married your sister." I married your sister. Here's another joke. The pupil asks, "Would you punish me for something I didn't do?" Teacher says, "No, of course not." Pupil responds, "Good, because I didn't do my homework." I didn't do my homework. Yeah, not good enough for the show. Good enough for the pre-show, I think. Waiting for my friends to come online, get to talking. Or maybe it'll just be me tonight, talking about courage. See how that goes. There was a lonely fox, huh? Mm-hmm. 7 o'clock, and no one is here yet. This is going to be an interesting show. Last time I thought this was going to happen, more people showed up, but tonight it might be too nice of an evening for people to stay in. I mean, we don't get sunny days like this in Canada all year round. People want to go out and do stuff. And to encourage them, to insist that they come in here on Wednesday at 7 p.m., it's a little unfair. And I kind of appreciate when anybody does it, but if nobody does it tonight, I'll understand. Maybe tonight we'll have a chance of really reaching the 7:30 mark. We have a habit of maybe overshooting that by at least 15, 20, sometimes 30 minutes. If you're wondering why I'm looking down at my phone here. It's very distracting. I love it. I love how distracting it is. Having something that I can get my attention to it, and it will always make me feel, or can always make me feel good, whether it's a game to play or a message to send or phone to call. It's interesting. I can see the number of viewers sometimes on the screen, and it goes up or down. And when it goes down, I feel like I'm being too boring, haven't said anything interesting. Well, today I certainly not really saying that much interesting. So for the viewers watching, I really appreciate you guys. It's 7:02, so it's about time to start the show. We're going to wait another 3 minutes to see if anybody participates with us. Otherwise, it'll be unlike any other show we've done. It'll just be me speaking to the void. But that's okay. I can do that. I can do that pretty well. Today we'll be discussing courage, so I'll get my thoughts together for that. You can always find time to speak when you're interacting with other people. When you just have to speak alone for 30 minutes, then it can be a little bit of a challenge. I say a little bit of a challenge because I love talking. I mean, here I am just sitting waiting for people that I can talk and talk and talk. We had a wonderful meeting yesterday. I was saving this for my moment of appreciation. I'll probably say it again. But we had a wonderful time yesterday with a very interesting group at the Tri-Tea Lounge. And I found myself monologuing. I found myself talking a lot more than I intended to. I think it was just because of how many we were and how spread out we were. In order to have a sort of harmonious gathering, I decided to sort of take the reins a little more forcefully. I didn't talk the whole time. I did talk a lot of the time. I really hope that people appreciate that. And I hope that you're appreciating it now. So if you want to participate live with your webcam or microphone, you don't have to be on webcam. You can just be audio. Feel free. You can join just by adding the law of attraction to your Google Circles. So if you're watching this just on the Google Plus page on this side here, I think it's the right side of the screen, you're going to see a little button that says Add to Circles. It's a red button. You click that, you add the law of attraction, me, to your circles, and when I get that notification, I will invite you to the show. The only way you can participate in this is if I invite you directly. Otherwise, you can just watch. Again, anything you're willing to do is perfectly fine. 7:03, we're starting the show in about 2 minutes. 7:04, we're starting the show in about 1 minute. It's going to be interesting.
Hello.
Hi, Valerie.
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm fine. It's never the same. It's like I never click in the same place, to connect. So from 1 week to the next, I can't remember.
Oh, that's strange. I wonder what happens. I know sometimes I send out an invite and people get it in an email. Sometimes when I start the show, then people get a call on Google Hangouts. It's a little confusing for me. I know it's confusing for other people. I've read about it online.
Yeah.
We're going to figure it out someday.
So I just went and got my tablet because usually on the tablet it's easier, but there's nothing happening on the tablet. So I said, okay, forget that. So I tried something else. I'm not even sure what I clicked on, honestly.
Yeah, weird. I was just about to ask. Well, hang on. Let me try and invite people again just in case they're having the same trouble. And we'll see how that goes. Invite.
Because usually there's something that says join the Hangout, and I didn't see that anywhere.
Strange. I don't know. I know my brother, he was trying to participate one time and he couldn't figure out heads or tails. And he's a web programmer. He can't figure it out.
Okay.
There's got to be something wrong with the way it's designed, but I'm sure that'll be resolved.
Yeah, maybe they keep changing it. Who knows?
Yeah. I was just chit-chatting with myself in the pre-show.
Well, I clicked on it and I could see you talking, explaining how it goes and everything. I said, okay, I'm just watching him. I'm not participating here, so this is not the right one.
Well, I'm really glad that you're here. It would have been one thing for me to talk by myself, but it's always more fun to talk to someone else.
Well, I hope we'll have more people. It's always fun to have more people too.
That's right. I know Joanne can't make it tonight. Sam's not going to be here tonight. But we do have some members who RSVP'd.
Is Sam going to be there? Is that what you said?
No, she's not going to. Not tonight. Okay. She's probably watching but not participating. I think she had someone over to her house. So.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Maybe Lee?
Lee, he's not RSVP'd, and I don't think he might not be in Montreal today.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I don't see him RSVP'd, so he might not. That's right, he's not coming. He RSVP'd no, which is fine. He almost always shows up.
What about Dimitri? We haven't seen him in a while.
No, we haven't. We haven't seen him in a little while. It's too bad. I really miss him. He really provided interesting feedback.
Yeah, he had great insights.
Yeah, I hope to see him again.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll give him a call directly. Excuse me. I'm the type of person who really likes to spend most of my time alone, and I kind of treat people the way I like to be treated, and I have this habit of sort of not calling people, not messaging them, not doing that stuff, and I shouldn't, because people like to receive communications, people like to be talked to, and I have to sort of remember that people like that even though I don't. My mom, she taught me, treat other people the way you want to be treated, and then, but if you like to be treated sort of weird-like, then you're treated weird.
Yeah, if you like to be treated weird, then that's how you're gonna treat others.
That's right. I can't help it, but well, maybe I can. But we have. Sorry, go ahead.
All right, remind me, the pre-show, do you take that as well, or does it show on YouTube, or is it just when you say, okay, now we're starting the show?
Usually it's well, every time we have done it, it's when I say now we're starting the show. My intention is to take the pre-show, but if we're talking about something personal or something completely off topic or something, then I won't do it. So usually the first few minutes of the pre-show, I just try to get everybody in there, get everybody up to speed, and then after we can go live. But sometimes I start late or whatever it is, and so we only start recording later on. I just prefer when the show starts that we're not interrupted by people joining in, so I'd rather wait an extra 5-10 minutes for people to come in instead of not.
Yeah.
But I know I think we have 2 viewers. Well, we have at least 3 who are not going to be on the show live, but they are watching. So, if there are new people in our group who come, I encourage them to watch the show. I don't really expect them to immediately go online. They have no idea what to expect. So today, look, it might just be the two of us, but it doesn't have to be a 50-minute show. But I'm glad you're here because the topic today was suggested by you.
Yeah, I did my homework a little bit. Actually, last night, every time I woke up, and I think I probably dreamt about it, I had so many ideas. And of course, this morning I said, okay, I'm going to write them down, but I didn't have time because I had kind of a rush day. Mm-hmm. And then tonight I got here around, at 6:30. I'm like, okay, now what was it that I thought of last night? And I'm like, pretty much blank. Not blank, but, I had like probably 10 ideas, and I think I found 3.
No, I get it. Well, it's cool. I mean, I had this. This is what I do. I get a lot of ideas, and if you look around my place here, you'll see a lot of notes on paper, on the computer, on the devices, and but the best way I found for keeping tabs on an idea is just to sit with the thought for a few seconds, or maybe a minute or two, just to think it through, and then even if I do forget it, something can trigger it. In the future, and so I've been trying to rely more on triggers for things. Yeah,
that's good. I like that. Just sit with it. You're right. It's then it comes back to you.
That's right. If you sort of plant the seed, like sometimes the seed is just dropped, but if you sort of just plant it by thinking about it a bit, then it can grow on its own, and then you forget you planted something, and you come back a few days later and you realize, oh, something's growing there, and I didn't realize it. When I was working 9 to 5 with the jobs I was doing, I was in one training session and they taught me something very interesting. And when I learned about it, I thought, well, this would actually probably be good for life. They said, the information changes all the time. You don't want to memorize the information, the prices for things, the details of things. What you want to know is how to find the information. So you want to be aware enough to know that there's something to know. And that's how I treat my ideas and my memories. I just say, well, I'm not going to remember this thing specifically, but let me just remind myself that there's something to know. Remind myself that I have something to look up or something to think about.
Yeah, it's kind of the trigger. It's like remembering the trigger.
That's right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so look, we're going to start the show. Maybe somebody else might come in, but I think we can have fun, just the two of us. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
If my cat lets me.
You talk about your cat so often, you're going to have to have your troublemaker.
Well, she was on camera once, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
But well, because some weeks she's really quiet and some weeks she's not. So.
Okay, that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
I created I was just fooling around with an app on my iPhone called Loopy. It's an app that I've had for a little while. It allows you to make music with loops. And I just was playing around with it. I was trying to come up with an idea for an intro for the Appreciationist.
Yeah.
I came up with a song. I mean, I didn't really put too much effort into it, but I thought it was just cool. And I thought it would demonstrate to people who think, they think I don't have great musical ability. I don't know how to do this or do that. I don't know how to play an instrument. And there are all these tools that are being developed now that allow the casual user to actually, with creativity, with imagination and time, create things that actually might suit them. And so I wanted to just play this as an intro to the Appreciationists. It's a little long, so I won't play the whole thing. I played it a little bit in the pre-show just to sort of get a sense of what the volume might sound like. I mean, I can hear it, but I'm not convinced that you will hear it or it will appear in the recording. So I'm just going to do a little test here, and then we'll start the show. Is that cool?
Sure.
Awesome. So what's interesting about this loop thing is that it just you just do a little melody and then you can loop it and then it keeps playing. You can add to it.
Nice.
Are you able to hear it? Yeah, nothing too complicated there, but what's interesting about that, and the reason I did that is because of our topic, courage, here today, because I've put off singing for the longest time because when I was singing, it's just nerve-wracking. Even just listening to my own voice now, I can feel myself starting to perspire. We talked about courage, and I thought, well, what is it that I'm afraid of? I'm not afraid of much. I might be nervous. I might have some trepidation, but I'm not really scared of anything. Then I remembered, oh, I don't play music, and that's something that I really have to start doing again. So I wanted to create a little intro, show people, you know, at least demonstrate that you don't have to be afraid.
Right.
My voice there. Of course, I turned it off real quick, but look.
So you did that on your iPhone? So it's an app. You'll have to tell me the app again. I didn't hear it.
Yeah, the app is called Loopy.
Okay, Loopy.
Loopy, exactly. I believe it costs 99 cents. It should be available on both the iPad and the iPhone. It looks like this.
Okay.
So what happens is that as you... Oh, look, let me start the show officially, and then...
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Hi, my name is Peter Hartman. You're watching The Appreciationist. Thank you very much for joining us. On tonight's show, we're discussing courage, everything to do with courage, and I really thank you guys. Thank you for coming and watching the show. Today we have one guest in the room. It's my favorite guest, and I'm including my girlfriend in that. It's my favorite guest. Maybe you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Val. There's no way I'm your favorite guest, but thank you anyway. That's really...
You're my favorite guest because you're here regularly. You know, I really love the input that you put. I know I love Sam to death, but she ain't here. You know, she ain't here. She's at home, and she...
I love it when Sam is here. Actually, I love her. You know, her insights. I think I understand her a lot. I think we have a lot in common. I like that.
That's right. No, she's really bright. She's really cool. We were talking about in the pre-show about Loopy, this app. It was actually responsible for the short audio interlude that you heard at the beginning, the intro. And I just want to show you a bit how it works. I think it costs 99 cents. You can find it in the iOS App Store, perhaps Android, I'm not sure. It works on both iPhone and iPad. And what happens here is that you have, so let's see here. So you have these little circles, and what you do is that, oh, hang on. So right now I have things that are recorded in them already. So if I press this, for example, you'll hear the guitar girl, and if I, let's say, tap the circle, the voice will start. I recorded a little drum thing.
Cool, I'm going to play with this.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear it, but it's a lot of fun to just play around with. And what's cool is that if you just sing, you say, well, I can't really sing that well, you just do a little note. This one is called Ooh La La. It's just Ooh La La. And then if you repeat that with different variations, you get this sort of chorus, this sort of homemade chorus. Mm-hmm. And it really, I love listening to it. I love the way it sounds. I love playing around with it. So I want to encourage people to go and check out, explore your world, explore these apps, explore these tools that allow you to develop your creativity and make you feel like, hey, maybe I can do X, maybe I can do this or that.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, this afternoon I was stuck in traffic at some point, and I don't know. I started drumming on my knees or on my, and I don't have the radio going. I don't even know why that rhythm came into me. Oh, I think oh yeah, I know, the flasher. That's it, my flasher. And I just like to improve on the beat of the flasher, and I was like, it was going on, and then I'm like, okay, now I gotta drive. But that's where it came from. Yeah, that's it. I was playing with the beat of the flasher.
Very nice. Yeah, there's music everywhere. Musicians or people who are attuned to music, they know this truth. They know that inspiration is everywhere. The thing with sound is that when I cook my food and I can hear it sizzling, I hear music in that. When I hear the drip drip of a tap, I hear music in that. When I hear the footsteps or the birds outside, I hear music to that. And
I like that.
Something about being in love with sounds and music, you have them everywhere. If you're in love with, I don't know, art or cooking or something like that, it's a sort of, it can be narrow wherever you are, but music, sound, motion, it's everywhere. And I really love, and I wanted to mention one thing. Sometimes, at least I've noticed this for myself, and I think it really matters more to people who are musically inclined. But you ever wake up in the morning or just throughout your day and you have this song going through your head?
Oh, yeah.
Someone just came in there. Well, I started paying attention to the song and the type of song that got stuck into my head and the lyrics of the song.
Yep.
And more often than not, what the words that were in the song had something to do with something I was going through.
Yep, I agree.
Exactly.
I take it as a message every time. It's like, okay, well, there's got to be an answer in there. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So you know, sometimes I'm just sitting around and I hear "Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing," and then I go, "Oh, that's cool." I was needing some upliftment, and the song was going through my head. I didn't pay attention. And then I do pay attention, and then I feel the love that comes from feeling like even the whole universe is listening to your thoughts, is paying attention to you, right? And sending you this song in order for you to feel uplifted.
You feel heard, you feel blessed, you feel supported, and you feel that you are part of this universe and that this universe understands, hears you, and yeah, it's a great feeling. You feel connected.
That's right, exactly. Connected, supported, those are all wonderful words. That's exactly how I feel about it. Okay, so let's start here. So I'm just going to, we'll start with our moment of appreciation, and then let me get my jokes here ready. Okay. A moment of appreciation. So this show is called The Appreciationist, and it's called The Appreciationist because appreciation is what we do here. The most important thing about what happens in the show is that we take a moment to reflect on the past few days, the past week, about something that happened that you can now find or did find appreciation in. You felt fondness for, you felt good for, you felt like it was a positive thing. So we want to look back in our life and not only recognize the good qualities of a person or a thing, but to choose to enjoy it, to really have a visceral sense of appreciation. So we have a segment here called A Moment of Appreciation, and where everybody here just takes a moment to share something that went well. And if you're at home and you're just watching, you can take a moment out and really just think about the last few days. Did something go well? Did someone do something kind? Did you do something kind? Did you learn something new? Is there something in your experience that stood out as being worthy of your appreciation? And it could be something as small as I woke up this week and I wasn't sick. I woke up today and I had food to eat. Or it could be something as grandiose as, you know, I got a new job, or I met a new lover, or had a wonderful new idea for a business, or whatever it is. So I really want to encourage people to do that exercise, and we'll do that here today. Valerie, you think you're ready?
Yeah.
Awesome. You want to share your moment of appreciation?
Yeah. Well, I have two, but I mean, it's, you know, I'll have one really. But the one yesterday, we had a meetup, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was on Raising Consciousness. I had so much fun. But I think every time I go to those meetups, it's just it gets better and better all the time. So it's just so I felt really, really good after it. It was like I was on a super high. But otherwise, I had kind of an accident last week. I mean, I don't know if it was really an accident because nothing big, but like I was on the Metropolitan and I was involved in a like 5-car accident, like bumper to bumper on Metropolitan. Somebody, you know, like stopped real, like, I don't know. I mean, it slowed down and then all of a sudden just braking like crazy. So I stopped. The guy in front of me stopped in time. I stopped in time. The guy behind me stopped in time. And then the guy behind me did it. You could hear him like going, yeah, you know. And then bum, 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 you know, like all 5 of us ended up just bumping into each other. So it was, of course, nerve-wracking. It's never happened to me. And we were on the left lane of Metropolitan. So in a way it was good because we were kind of protected to the left. So we did everything we had to do, you know, took the licenses and everything, but of course I was shaking like crazy. I could never, like, where's my license, where's my insurance, where's, like, you know, because we kept giving it to each other. And the police was super nice and super calm. Actually, this is really what I think, this is what they bring, you know. It's like they're super calm. So it's like for them it's like they were not in the middle of the highway. It felt like we were in the middle of a field. It was like so calm and peaceful. But what I really got out of it is that once I started, you know, and I was in the middle. I was the car exactly in the middle. And I had an appointment with a customer, and once I got to my customers, then I really looked at my car. I mean, I had taken pictures, but, you know, you really don't pay attention so much. Yeah. And my car had nothing. Nothing. I mean, maybe a scratch or two in the back. That's not even worth it. No bump, nothing. I was like, how can this be? I mean, the guy in front of me, I know his bumper was cracked, so I cracked it with my car, but my car is fine in the front. And in the back, my car is absolutely fine too. And I'm like, how is this possible? So honestly, I felt, protected, blessed, whatever. I felt like, oh, wow, this is really amazing. So honestly, this is a very positive thing in my week, even though it was, nerve-wracking. But that's it. So that is my big moment of appreciation.
That's really awesome. That's really cool. I can't believe nothing really happened to your car. That's
Nothing.
I mean, someone might think, oh, well, you might have been luckier if nothing happened at all, right? No stopping of the cars, no bumping. But there's something about the sort of accident occurring and you surviving it that really demonstrates more clearly that the true value of life doesn't come out of avoiding conflict, but how you respond to conflict. And you don't want to live a life where nothing happens to you. You want to live a life where even when things happen to you, you can deal with it. And then there are moments like this where something happens to you, and then you remain unscathed, right? You're undamaged. And
yeah, I forgot to say that. Of course, the first thing was nobody got hurt. That was the first thing, and of course that's the first thing we checked. And then when the firemen came and the police, that was the first question. So everybody was okay. But then it was like, okay, so what kind of damage do we have, And so that was it. Yeah, it was.
That's very cool. You remind me of something because I remember, I don't know if I told you this story before, I've said it before, but I was driving one day, I had borrowed my mother's car, we went to Orford Park, National Park,
Right.
I think it's east of Montreal, I'm not sure, and
Yeah.
So we're driving back and we're hitting traffic, Sunday traffic, it's the evening, everybody's coming back from going out, leaving Montreal, they're going back into town. Traffic everywhere, we're going pretty fast, 100 kilometers an hour, some of us. And then all of a sudden I realized, tuk, 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 my brakes aren't working.
Oh, wow.
I'm driving 100 kilometers an hour, and I realized I can't stop, I can't even slow down. And so I removed my foot from the gas. I tried the emergency brake, and it works like barely, like enough to maybe slow me down over a long time. And then I slow down traffic, and I pull off to the side of the street. And I tell Tom, who was sitting next to me, my brother, I have no brakes. And he doesn't believe me at first. He's like, what are you talking about? And I say, I have no brakes. They're not working. So what are we going to do here? We can call AAA. We can get them over here. We can wait forever for them to come. Or let's be a little risk taker and let's just drive anyway without brakes. And so I drove without brakes. So I drove all the way back into town, across the Champlain Bridge, got downtown, all the way back to our starting location. I get out of the car, I hand the keys to my mother, she gets in, and the brakes work.
What?
The brakes work! Immediately, she gets in, and there's no problem. The brakes absolutely work.
What was that?
Well, what it was, I think, I mean, I like to think that I'm the type of person who can handle something like that, who actually might get excited over something like that.
Really?
Yeah. Well, the moment I realized, okay, I didn't have brakes, I almost immediately made this decision. Well, I'm not going to drive. This is, I mean, it's just too fun. It's just, I'll go slow, I'll be careful, but I just have to try this. The story I'm going to get from this is going to be so fun. But it never occurred to me that I would get out of the car and then another person gets in, their whole context changes the scenario, I suppose, and now the brakes work. And never did it not work for her.
Wow. So she never had to take it to the garage or ever after. It was always fine.
She took it out of precaution, right? I encouraged her to take it out of precaution. I didn't know nothing was going to happen. I assumed something was going to happen, but nothing did happen. But there's something about being in some type of trouble, and then actually turns out you're actually okay. If you have the right attitude, if you have the right sort of state of mind, you can actually turn the situation to your advantage, and you could turn out to find that there's nothing really wrong. It's sort of similar like when you have an argument with someone you love, and then it feels really big, but a week later you don't even remember the argument. It's not even that big, and so we make it sort of the bigger deal that happens when these traumatic situations occur, or our perspective about them. And it really goes to talk about our subject here today, courage in the light of fear. I want to share my moment of appreciation. I really liked yours. I'm going to dovetail with yours by saying I had the same one. The meeting we had yesterday was very satisfying. It started out strange with our sort of end times talk with our party crashers, but it was very satisfying to me to have the mix of people that we had, the variety of ideas, and the interest in exploring the idea of rage and consciousness. Right, we were talking about sort of what that means, and so I left feeling just like you did, high on life, really good. I felt really happy. I didn't really want to monologue it as much as I did, but you know, you've been watching the show for 20 minutes now. You know, Peter likes to talk, so it was a lot of fun.
Not bad. Honestly, I think a lot of people talked. I did a lot of talking myself.
That's right. That's right. You know, I'm really glad. I'm really glad that you guys talked. I think everyone who wanted to say something got a chance to say it. If you were too shy, maybe it wasn't the event for you. But it was very satisfying, very fun. What came out of there was poignant, and so I really had a lot of fun there. And then my other moment of appreciation was, I mean, compared to that, I suppose minor, but for me it was a very big. I had always wanted to make stew. Have you ever made stew before?
No, I don't like to cook. Remember, we had a discussion of robots, and that's the first thing I want out of a robot. I want a chef, a robot chef.
That's right. That's right.
I made stew, but you made stew.
I made stew for the first time, so you know, I never really like tackling. I never really like making food that my mother has made because I always feel like it'll never be good enough.
Mm-hmm.
But my lovely girlfriend Sam, she made food, and she made it so well. It tasted so good that I thought, you know, I can't just wait for her to make it. I'm gonna have to give it a try. Mm-hmm. And there's like a bunch of ingredients in there, you know, balsamic vinegar, soy, all kinds of spices, paprika, rosemary, whatever it is. Cutting up the vegetables, all that stuff, putting it in there, and I stewed it for hours, and it came out very tender, and it tasted amazing. I made some mashed potatoes, put it on top with some crusty bread on the side to dip inside. And
I'm hungry now.
and I ate that for, I think today's going to be the third or fourth day that I'm eating it. I really love making food in batches and then being able to eat that throughout the week. It sort of takes the sting out of having to cook. But I loved it, and it wasn't as good as Mom's, and it wasn't as good as my lovely Sam, but it did taste very good. And I got to feed some to my brother yesterday. He came over, and I really had a fun time sort of handing him the stew. And I gave it to him, and he's like, "Oh, something new," because we usually eat the same sort of 7 meals, and then we had something new. So that's my moment of appreciation. It's sort of weird, food talk, but I really like the stew.
No, it's not weird. I think you should bring your stew to the potluck.
I had the same idea. I thought the same idea. I thought, you know, make a big batch and bring it over. It might be cool. So I might do that too.
Great idea.
Perfect. So let's see here. So I did away with my cards. I mean, I still have the cards for the jokes here, but I did away with my cards. I'm going to try and use my device. I want to practice for regular life. So if you see me looking at my phone, I'm not checking my messages. I'm really just looking at, see, it says my moment of appreciation. Well, you can't see it.
No, I can't see. It's too white.
But now we're moving on to my second favorite part of this show, Joke of the Week. Today's Joke of the Week, we're choosing between liberty and prosperity. Liberty was left over from last week. Prosperity is today's word. Liberty and prosperity.
I'm going with prosperity.
Prosperity. Okay, awesome. Okay, so prosperity. So what we do, just in case you don't know, is that we pick a word. The word is associated with a joke. The word has nothing to do with the joke. It's just a way of choosing which joke we're going to tell. The joke that gets left over, which is liberty, which was left over last week, it will be up for grabs next week. So if you like that word, you want to hear that joke, you can check it out next week. This week, prosperity. Again, the word has nothing to do with the joke. Here we go. A woman was telling her friend, "It is I who made my husband a millionaire." And what was he before you married him?" she asked. The woman replied, "A multimillionaire."
But too many shoes.
That's right. That's right.
That's a good one.
I like that joke. Actually, it kind of has something to do with prosperity there.
Oh, that's right. You keep saying it has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I really shouldn't have hit that point home so hard, but
it was bound to happen.
That's right. So the next segment, before we get to our segment, what a great idea, which is a segment where we actually, let's start with that. I'm going to go to the segment, what a great idea. I just want to offer you an idea, offer you a website, an idea out there that really deserves your attention. This idea today is Montreal-based. It's a group called Musicon, or what is it called? A performance show called Musicon, Musicon. It's on our Facebook page, and what they want to do is encourage self-development through dance.
Oh.
Because Valerie, I know we had a conversation that was similar to this.
Yeah.
You know, you have an interest in personal development and in dance, and I thought this was kind of cool, so you might want to check that out.
I will.
So Musicon, that's musicon.com, and you can find that on our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/Law of Attraction Montreal.
Okay, I wrote it down. Anyway, I'll have a look right after the show. Great.
We have a very cool site. So the topic for today is courage. Courage and everything to do with courage. So we could talk about it in a variety of ways. When I was researching the topic for our conversation tonight, I was thinking of it more as courage to do what you might be afraid of, and also, courage to try something new, courage to cross boundaries, courage to cross over into the unknown. When you brought up the idea of courage, Valerie, what did you have in mind? If you had any?
I knew this was coming. Well, I wanted to talk about that, and I remember sending you an email regarding this topic, maybe as a meetup at some point, because I find courage to me has been there a lot of the times in my life when I had to choose me over others, basically. I mean, that's how I see it, because now I know that every decision that we make is in our best interest, or that is what we think is in our best interest. So no matter what I chose, it was in my best interest, but I didn't feel that way. So so that has been, and it's in applying the law of attraction. It was really in regards to that. And so it's once you, for me, I mean, the law of attraction is, once I found out about it, it made a lot of sense, and it resonated with me very strongly. And so I've applied it and I try to apply it as much as possible. I try to remember it, and it has made it has made a big difference in my life. But it took courage. It took a lot of courage, and it still takes a lot of courage. And so that is really why I wanted to talk about it, because it's hard. It's hard, but at the same time, first of all, it's not always hard. It gets easier for sure. But when I was thinking about the topic for today, I was wondering, why is it really courage when, if I make a decision and I'm choosing me over others, let's say I'm choosing something that my family thinks makes no sense, and I'm choosing something that makes sense to me because it resonates with me for some reason. It takes courage for me because I know I'll face criticism, or I might. I mean, maybe I will, maybe I won't, but I'm afraid I'm going to face criticism, and this is where the courage comes in. But is it really courage when actually, you know, I've chosen what I think is best for me? So I don't know. That's my question to you.
Well, that's good. I like that because you know, I feel the same way. I believe that the only way to experience courage or bravery is to also experience fear, right? Courage is not the absence of fear, but the presence of intention or action despite that fear. And so if you are not, there's some people who learn about the law of attraction or about anything else, and they're not afraid or concerned about other people's opinions about it, and so they are not activating courage in that sense. There's no courage necessary because there is no fear. But if you have trepidation, worry, concern about how other people might view you, how your life might change or whatever it is, if you're nervous about crossing that boundary, then courage is required. I know I have to face that a lot. I've had people in my meetup just sort of stand up and say, you know, you can't say God. What are you talking about, God? God, you can't say that. Stop saying that. And I've heard people say, you know, science, that's too, they're too close-minded, they're this, they're that, and you shouldn't use science. And, you know, I find myself concerned, not overly concerned, but concerned about how people might perceive it whether I say yay or whether I say nay, whether I embrace science or whether I embrace spirituality or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Even philosophy, people say, well, philosophy, it's fun, but it's not practical. How does it really affect our lives? And so depending on what we choose to believe and who we choose to entangle ourselves with, you are going to have to do this little dance. It could be a physical dance, it could be an emotional dance, or you're dancing around the belief systems of others. Now, I believe if you want to be the most wholesome person that you can be, you have to care far less about what other people think than
Right.
what you think. And that takes the most amount of courage, because we live in a society that is, you have the masses, the lump of everyone, and then you have the outliers. And there's safety in numbers. It's the sort of herd mentality. It's far
Right.
better to go along with the herd, even if the lemmings will follow each other off a cliff. And they're doing it not because they want to end their existence, but because they want so much to follow the crowd, and it takes courage in order to step outside of that. But now we're living in a world where there's so many beliefs that it's hard for me to say. I think when I mention the law of attraction to people, I get this sort of feedback where I had a friend who said, isn't that a scam? Isn't that fake? And what he's really trying to say is, I don't believe in that stuff. And but there's so many things that you can believe in today. If you believe in string theory, have you ever heard of string theory?
Yep.
Yeah, if you're a scientist who believes in string theory, you have a bunch of other scientists who think you're a crazy nuthead.
Yeah.
Right? There are scientists today who still sort of dispute fundamental principles of quantum physics, which is kind of absurd, because quantum physics has allowed us to create the internet, has allowed us GPS satellites, has allowed us to build, Large Hadron Collider, whatever it is, and still there are people who defy it. We have notions like evolution, which can be controversial. We have notions like, is abortion right controversial, the death penalty, gay marriage, and so we live in a world with so many ideas that, when you really think about it and you take the big picture, should you really be concerned about an idea like the law of attraction? Is that really something that you feel might set you at odds with most people? And I don't think so anymore. But.
No, I don't either. I mean, and I've learned to, I think that, and I think you were saying it last week, once you have the courage, once you make your stand for yourself or for something you believe, or and even if it sounds crazy to others, but once you make your stand once, and then twice, and then 3 times, and you do it more and more, and then you realize that it pays off, that you feel good, that it brings you good things in your life, then you are braver. I mean, that's what you were saying last week. Then you really, because then you get momentum going. And the one thing I remember from last night thinking about that is I feel like sometimes when you're about to make the decision and you have that fear, so I feel like I'm on the edge. And if I decide, and more now, if I decide to still go ahead and go, with what feels right to me, then I'm going on faith. And I feel that faith actually, I mean, I can see myself like I'm really on the edge of a cliff or something like that. And if you say, okay, but I'm going with faith, then faith creates the ground under your feet. It's really like, it's like you're taking a step, you're not looking, you're taking a step, and then ground is there. And then you take another step and ground is there. And this is, I find this is how we really create our reality. And how we realize we have tremendous power.
That's exactly right. I really love the way you put that. That's exactly right. You venture into the unknown, and you feel like you're on unstable ground. But as you place your feet with faith and confidence, with expectation, the ground sort of rises up to meet you at the level that you are at. And I feel, I don't believe in blind faith, right? There's some people who believe, oh, faith, that's crazy. If you believe that you can fly, I think that's valuable. But does that mean you should test your theory out on the 10th floor of a building? No, you can do it off the ground. And so if you, for example, you learn about the law of attraction, and then you quit your job, and you stop doing all kinds of things, and now you're just going to sit back and rely on the law of attraction, like I did, then you're kind of in crazy town. You know, you might. What's with this sort of blind faith, just throwing yourself into something? But if you can make an educated decision, if you can make a reasonable decision, reasonable meaning not what other people might agree with, but by your own standard, your own measurement, you've evaluated it, then you can step into the unknown with a what I consider to be a realistic belief that something will happen. That there will be support for you. In the Bible and church, they taught us faith leads to evidence. And I feel like people don't get that part. Faith is not just about having faith, it's that faith leads you to evidence. It leads you to the place that is foundational, that is truth. And every decision that you make, you are always sort of doing this thing. You're always sort of making this choice that can set you in dire straits, can give you trouble, or can release you. And I think the true measure whether or not an idea is good or not is, like you said, if it's useful to you. And this is where this is how courage transforms other people. When they see you venturing into the unknown, and then they see you not only surviving but thriving, then it causes them to wonder or to desire, maybe I can go there.
Well, I mean, you've done it. Even the decision. I mean, what you were saying, like you stopped everything and then you tried it. I don't think that was the worst thing in the world either. I mean, you've survived. You're like, look where you are now, you know. So, but I mean, to a lot of people, I know I've kind of faced that too, you know, and like quitting a job, not really quitting, but anyway, going on a burnout and saying, well, I'm not gonna stay at that job because I can't, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. And my family was like, well, what do you mean? Like, where are you going to go? I'm like, I don't know. I just know one thing for sure. I can't stay at that job. That's the one thing I know. And then the rest, you know, one thing at a time. But it's scary, and I was scared. But it was kind of survival. At the same time, it's like staying was not an option anymore because it was not healthy. So everything else is healthier. Let's see what it is. But for now, I have no idea what it is, you know. So it's kind of, so I think what you did, yeah, it sounds crazy. Maybe it was a little drastic, but I mean, maybe that's what it took.
Absolutely, it did, because you know, sometimes people ask me, should I quit my job? And I always say, no, don't do it. But I don't mean no, don't do it. If you're the type of person who should quit their job, nothing I will say is going to stop you from doing it. And
right.
If you are worried about it, then don't do it. And so I tell everybody, don't do it. And if you don't listen to me, good for you. If you do listen to me, it means that you can't survive. You can't deal with that sort of quitting your job thing. And for me, it was absolutely the best choice because I could not survive the other way. I just couldn't live that way. It just, nothing could work. And it had come to a head when I learned about my power and I learned about my ability to create. And then I learned about the law of attraction. I felt absolutely greater than I was. I felt bigger. I felt like I expanded. And the space that I was in was confining to a degree where it was torture. It was literally hell on earth. And I couldn't tolerate that. Mm-hmm. Now, on that level, I don't consider myself to be courageous to leave work because there's nothing courageous about avoiding something that will kill you and embracing something that won't, right? But there are other things that I find courageous, at least in my own personality. When I stand up in front of people and I talk to them, a group of people where I don't know their minds, where I don't know what's going on, that to me is courage. And it's easier to do that than to, in terms of the task, it's easier to do that than to quit my job. But it's far more fearful for me to stand up in front of people and speak than it is to quit my job, because one is survivability and the other one is stepping into something new and really redefining who you are. And that's part of what I want to talk about today. When you're talking about courage, you're talking about fear, what you're talking about is redefinitions. Fear is just perceiving something in a skewed manner. Okay, so let's say you're afraid of flying. Well, there's nothing wrong with flying, and despite the risk there is to flying, there's nothing to really be afraid of necessarily. But depending on how you choose to tell that story, now the story of flying can be skewed, distorted, to appear to be something undesirable, unwanted, and that's what we consider to be fear. So fear is actually not fear is not letting you know that there's something bad about what's going on. Fear is letting you know that you are interpreting your environment in a skewed manner. You're viewing reality through a distorted lens.
Yes.
And when you start seeing fear as a matter of definition, and you realize your power to redefine things, then you can take charge, and then you can be courageous. Courageous, when you're courageous, you're saying, despite the definition of fear that I see, I will choose to redefine that. I will choose to redefine that experience. And when you redefine fear, it becomes bravery. It becomes courage.
How do you... Okay, I'm not sure I follow you. I mean, I do in some degree, but yeah, I mean, I understand that it's a skewed reality. You know, it's not. It's just the perception. It's the way you look at something. Yeah, so you have to turn it around.
You have to turn it around, but all fear, sorry?
Or just change your perspective on whatever you're fearful of.
That's right. You change your perspective on what you're fearful of, because all fear is actually the fear of loss. Okay, it could be the loss of comfort, it could be the loss of respect, it could be the loss of money, it could be the loss of your life, it could be the loss of wellness, whatever it is. All fear is the fear of loss. Now, the truth is, you can't ever lose anything. All loss is actually transformation, right? Even if you die, you're just being transformed.
Yes.
Now, if you... I'm sorry, am I interrupting you?
No, go ahead. No, I'm agreeing with you.
That's right. So all loss is... all fear is a fear of loss. And all loss is actually transformation, but we can choose to view transformation as loss. So I tell this weird story. Sometimes it doesn't go over very well, but just imagine that a mother, she has a child, and the baby grows up, a toddler becomes an adolescent, becomes a teenager, and at 18 years old, the mother walks into the child's room, to the boy's room, and says, "Where's my baby? My baby's gone. My little baby is gone. Where's my baby?" And the kid says, "I'm right here, Mom. I'm right here." And she says, "No, my baby's this small and this big and does gaga goo goo, and my baby is gone." And the kid would say, "Well, you're kind of crazy. You're seeing it as loss, but it's not loss. I'm still here. I'm just transformed. And no, I'm not the same as I was, and it will never be that same thing again. But I have been transformed." And so I want people to realize that when you fear something, you're fearing loss. And the reason you fear loss is because of our natural tendency to define transformation as loss, and because of that, we have fear. But if you can redefine that loss as transformation, to bring it back to what it really is, when you're leaving your job, when you're leaving your wife, when you're getting married, when you're having kids, when you're buying a car, when you're in an accident, whatever it is, you're actually having a transformative experience. And those people on this planet who embrace transformative experiences in all their forms grow fast and more effectively. And those who resist this tendency of growth, of transformation, experience a turbulent experience. And that turbulent experience, in the terms of perspective, appears to be fearful. It appears to be fearful. So that's what I mean by fear is loss. And because loss is always, transformation is defined as loss. So I want people to start trying to hold on to things as the way they are and start learning that we have to start being okay with not only letting things go, but letting things change, because that's what it really is.
Mm-hmm. So what about, like, when you were talking about you driving that car without brakes, there was no fear? Or is it just is there like joy in taking risks? There's that too.
Yes, that's right. So the moment I realized I had no brakes, I felt fear instantly. I felt fear. But because I have this habit of changing my perspective on life, I immediately shifted to transformation, right? Not loss, but transformation. Yes, it was a loss of control, but what I was actually experiencing was I had this new opportunity to be different, right? I had this new... immediately I said, what if I just drove home? Would my life be different if I could do that? Would my life be different if I could do that? Yes, it might be reckless. Yes, it might not be safe for other drivers. Yes, it's a very selfish way of looking at the world, but would I be different? Would I be better? Would I feel more sure in cars? The next time if something like this happened to me, would I be braver? And the truth is, I was. There's a second part to that story. A little while later, I had I was driving my own car. I'm trying to remember which car I was driving. It could have been her car again, but maybe my own. And it was on the highway, and the battery dies on me. It just dies.
Okay.
And on the highway, and I slowed to a stop, and I stopped right at where the highway sort of diverged, right? Off ramp, the highway to go to Dakari, the highway to go Trans-Canada, right at that section.
Yeah.
And so I get out of my car, and every car that comes my way only sees me once they get right on top of me.
Oh.
Everybody's going full speed, and they only see me when they get right on top of me. So I get out of my car, I'm calling them on the phone, trying to figure out what to do, and I see this truck coming straight towards me. It's coming full speed, and I'm thinking to myself, immediately I think to myself, I'm dead. He's gonna smash into this car. I'm in the middle of the street. What am I can't jump off the highway. I'm dead. And I stood there, and I felt no fear, because I immediately remembered when the brakes died on me. And I said,
oh,
I'm not going to worry. I stood up, I put my hands in the air, and I waved them like this. And I said, whatever is going to happen, it's going to happen.
Well, that's it, yeah.
And the truck at the last moment, plonk, plonk, instead of me worrying and running around, I just stood there calmly waving my hands as big as I could, just stood out in the highway and just waved as big as I could, not frantically, just waving, and somehow they were able, at the last moment, able to dodge me and move, you know? And so that experience with the brakes in the car actually made me different.
It prepared you.
I'm sorry?
It prepared you.
Exactly. It prepared me. It primed me. And if it wasn't for the way I approached that and used that transformative experience, I would not have been ready for the worst experience. The one where I got off the highway was way worse than the brakes, if you could imagine. Because I didn't only have to dodge one truck, I had to dodge all the cars. Everybody was going around me. It was one of the most fearful experiences or potentially fearful experience I ever had with a car, but I was not afraid. And when I left that experience, I felt so proud of myself. And I really want people to realize that it's not only about being positive and pursuing your dreams and all that stuff, but to sit down after the fact and realize I feel proud of myself for going through that the way that I did. I feel proud that instead of arguing with my girlfriend, I held my tongue and I calmed myself down. I feel proud of it. And when you feel proud, it really changes you. It makes you feel, I don't want to use the word a better person, but it makes you feel like a better person. It makes you feel greater than you were.
Bigger, greater, yeah. And yeah, words are not, don't do it justice.
That's right. That's what I mean by transformation. So we adopt courage because we interpret an event as fearful. But if we can view that fearful event and see it as transformative, then we can embrace it. And I don't want people to run away from things that make them afraid. I want them to use their creativity, use their mind in order to tackle it. And that's what I did with the music that I made today. I sat down thinking about courage a few days ago, and I was like, well, what is it I'm afraid of? And then I said, you know, I'm kind of afraid of this music thing. So I took my guitar up again, I tuned it, I played the music, and I said, let me try and play something. Let me try and play something, and I'm going to challenge myself to play it to other people on the show. And I still wasn't even sure I was going to do that. But because I'm so much in this habit of transforming myself and not seeing fear as a reason to stop, I said I'm going to do it even if I'm going to be sweating like crazy. I'm going to do it anyway. And you come out the other end better than when you came in. And that's why I want people to stop defining loss, or fear rather, as fearful, but seeing it as a wonderful, a tantalizing challenge, right? It's a boundary that sort of dares you to cross it.
Yeah. As I was saying yesterday, I also want to make sure that it's, I mean, because you love a challenge and you know, and you know that you have the power to transform things, and we all have it. We don't all know it. But what I was saying yesterday was like first to be non-violent. For me, it's like first to be non-violent toward myself. So seeing a fear as like, okay, yes, it's an opportunity for me to transform it. Can I do it right now? Am I able to do it? If I can, then great. And if I cannot, well, then walk away. You know, it's like, and I used to do that also. The minute like anybody calls to sell me insurance or anything, I mean, I hate that. It's like insurance is like built on fear. So every time I'm like, I'm not gonna make a decision based on fear. Every time it's like, this is just pointing me the other way. if fear is pointing me this way, I'm going absolutely the other way for sure, So, but now it's you're giving me even more of more options. It's like, okay, how can I transform it? And that's a possibility too. And but also being nonviolent in there, because it's also sometimes we're so okay. We want to be so tough. Like, I want to change. I got to do something. We were talking about it yesterday. If the effort is too great, then it's like you're working against yourself, and that's probably not the best. Well, I don't think it's self-loving. That's just
right.
on it. And I want to share one little thing, because it's kind of funny. I picked that topic last week, and then I received an email from, I used to subscribe to the Oprah network, and I got an email, and the topic was what is your instinct telling you? And it was about taking risks and stuff like that. And she had a bishop, I believe, that wrote a book, and I couldn't get the name of the book, but I listened to parts of the videos, and he was talking at some point about the naysayers. So when you make a decision based on instinct, and then you're afraid of the criticism of other people, and he said that what he said is we eat at the level of our vision. And so that's his statement. And he was talking about giraffes and turtles. He said giraffes eat, stuff high in trees, and turtles are in the grass. And of course, to the turtles, what the giraffe eats, or what they do, is like the perspective on it is like they're very different worlds. So what the turtles thinks of the giraffe's world, and what the giraffe thinks of the turtle's world, is like, who cares? Because they see things very, very differently, So I like that, because it's so, you can really see the difference between the two. And it's like, so yeah, people will think that the decisions we make no sense, but it's from their perspective, from what they know, what they see, and what they think they see, and same thing for us. So we don't have to be, we're not on the same wavelength necessarily, and that's why it's such a great world, because there are so many differences.
That's right. I really love that story, because yeah, the giraffe, what it sees is the leaves on the tree. It's so good, and if a giraffe could think like a human, it might look at the turtle and say, "Why are you eating such terrible food down there? The real good stuff is up here." And,
right.
And if there was a smart third character, they'd say, it's a matter of perspective. It depends on how you choose to see it. And ultimately, that's really the greatest reminder you want to have for yourself when you're trying to do something that other people might criticize you for. You just want to say, well, of course they're going to criticize me for it. It's not what they are desiring of. It's not their level. It's not where they're at. And I say that as a person who went through, church, agnosticism, atheism, philosophical notions, spiritual notions. I embraced them all. And every single time I went to a new field or domain, I had to evaluate, well, how will other people see me if I start talking about politics and Obama and the American Constitution? And how will people see me if I talk about God? And how will people see me if I talk about Socrates or Plato or whatever it is? And I realized, how will I see myself? I mean, isn't that far more important? And that goes to the point that you made there. The biggest act of courage is to love yourself.
Yes.
That is the biggest act of courage, because it demands from you to care more about your opinion than anybody else's. It demands for you to respect your own judgment above anyone else's, not despite or ignoring everybody else's, but allowing your vision, your sensibilities, your instincts to be the core of your reasoning, the core of your value system, as opposed to what's dictated by everybody else. And so loving yourself takes a lot of courage, especially if you haven't practiced it your whole life. But that is the first step towards overcoming any other challenge, because when you're going through any other fearful situation, you have to tell yourself, I am strong, I am sure, I am well put together, I will survive this transition, I will survive this transformation. But if you feel that you were brittle, if you feel that you were weak or incapable in some way, then any obstacle, any challenge that may very well transform you will appear to be fearful. And so loving yourself is the first sort of act of bravery that I would encourage to do. And that's not something you do in a single moment. It's something that you practice on a daily basis. You practice that by writing songs when you don't think you're able to. You practice that by making stew, even though you don't think it might be good for someone else. You practice that by putting on a show like this every week and not knowing who might show up. And the wonderful thing is that when you put yourself out there, you might find that your car is not damaged, that the brakes aren't cut, and that you're not alone in an online Google Hangout session. Somebody will be there for you. So I really appreciate you coming out, Valerie. I really had fun talking to you today. I won't keep you too long. It's 8 o'clock. You know, I might actually go outside there. Was there anything else you wanted to add to our conversation?
No, I don't think so. Well, just that, you know, we were talking a bit about how when you were talking about sound and music and all that kind of stuff, because you like it, then this is something that you pay attention in your life. It's a bit the same for me in terms of courage, because when I value it, because I see the difference that it makes in my life. And so when I see somebody who's fearless, I admire it. I really do. And I think sometimes I see that in actors on TV, or when they're not necessarily super well known or whatever, and you can tell that sometimes they're brilliant and sometimes they're not. And actually seeing when they're not, I love it, because I think, oh my God, this is so brave. You can tell there's no fear. They're ready to crash. They don't care. They're just gonna. So again, the contrast of seeing, you know, somebody who's like, okay, that scene wasn't all that great. You know, it was a little bit embarrassing. But then you see how they can be brilliant, and how, you know, maybe they can get through a very emotional scene and just touch you so much. So that contrast and seeing that fearlessness, it's just it inspires me.
Very good, very good. All right, I think that's a wonderful note to end this show on. I want to thank everybody else for watching. I just want to remind you about what's coming up for us. Just so you know, check out musicon.com. We have an interview coming up. It should have already been up, but that's a story for another time. An interview with Dark Light. It's a musical group in Montreal. They're going to be performing at Musicon. Musicon is the production that cares about self-development through dance. And I want to remind you, what is it I want to remind you? Here we go. If you want to find out more about them, check them out at moredarklight.com. And if you want to know more about our meetups, you can find that on meetup.com/TLOAMTL. We have, on May 18th, we have Infinity, where you can come and ask questions and get answers. It's one of my favorite events to do. I'm really trying to encourage people to come out to this. You know, you put up an event like Love and Attraction, and everybody shows up. You put up something else, and then people may not find it as interesting. But this one is really a lot of fun. Infinity, it's a Rubik Center on May 18th. May 25th, we're having our first outdoor event, Spring into Attraction on Mont Royal. You're going to be sitting outside in nature, weather dependent. Bring you know, sheets, bring a chair if you want something to snack on. We're going to have a fun time talking out there in public. And then, of course, next Wednesday, the Appreciationist at 7 p.m. Please feel free to come and tune in. I can't tell you how happy I am that you came, Valerie. Yeah, I mean, I could have been talking to myself, which I do a lot, but I mean, it's so much better to have you here. And yes, you might think I'm just blowing smoke, but you really are my favorite guest to have on this show. I really appreciate it. And I hope you liked your cupcake at yesterday's event. I know you had.
It was, yeah. Thank you for the little cupcake when I was already having a big one. So that was.
Yeah, I should have thought.
That was good. No, that was good. I always enjoy cupcakes. No problem.
Look, I'm gonna play my little melody, and we'll leave you out here. Look, let's
have a good week, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Valerie. Take care.
Bye.
I release you. You can go. Don't worry about it.
I know, but I'm listening. It's beautiful. Bye.
Stay tuned for more. We're going to be having a preview of an interview on Dark Light. We were supposed to have it last week. We didn't have it last week. We're supposed to have it today. We're going to have it today. But you really want to check out out what they're doing. They have amazing music. You can find out more about them at moredarklight.com. They're having the next event on May 18th at Music Concert if you want to check that out. We have wonderful videos, one about fear and courage on our meetup page, on our Facebook page, and that's facebook.com/Law of Attraction Montreal. You can find all of our links at lawofattraction.ca or at meetup.com/TLOA&TL. I really hope to see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. for the Appreciationist. Thank you and have a good night. Take care.